Alrighty then. For those of you who follow my YouTube channel, most of you are usually here. I posted a thing in the community section recently talking about how I just haven't been able to do a video. We've had stuff going on, and homesteading and so on. And if you're part of my husband's Patreon channel, shalom, John Ria. Tell me how to pronounce your name again. Last name Ray. There's Westhold Forge. Haven't seen you in a while, brother. Miss you. Hey, Mike Holland, bless you. Are you in the country? Hey, Suze, shalom. Yeah, talking about the fact that I haven't done a video in a while. And I was actually planning on doing a video this morning. And, of course, I got down there and forgot what I was supposed to do and got engrossed in doing what I was supposed to do. And so I didn't do it. And I thought, it's a beautiful afternoon here. It is hot. I'm going to be sweating. But I thought, probably ought to touch base with you guys because, one, I miss you all. And two, the summer is now kind of getting in the end game. I've seen more than one of you post videos and like on your community thing, winter is coming. And indeed it is. Shalom, McMikey. COVID has held me in place off to Honduras, then Kenya. Oh, doggone it. You've got such a boring life. We just got home with our puppy. Awesome, Vicky. I hope you love it. I'd love to hear what you thought about your visit up there. You dropped the box off, I'm assuming. Patriot Preparedness. Shalom, Sister Kate. So Patriot Preparedness, you're the one who gave us the S10, right? We did the swap because we're still driving that little fella. Somebody told us that it's got some sort of internal sensor thing that's going to fail on it, but it's an excellent little farm truck and we really do use it a lot. Ray. Okay, good. I thought so. Sheepdog Patriot, shalom, shalom. Scotty John, shalom. Yes, they have the box. Thank you so much for delivering it. Was your visit good? I hope you enjoyed yourself while you were up there. Ozarks Prepared, good evening. Ozarks Prepared, you posted something on Instagram today. And now I can't remember what it was. And I thought, interesting. I can't remember what it was. Maybe you can spur my mind. Yes, good visit. Good. You saw some little people who are very near and dear to our heart. So, how do you like your puppy? Oh, goodness. There were a couple things I wanted to talk about. The start of a bushcraft cabin. Ooh. I don't think that was it, but that's really cool. What are you going to build it out of? Are you going to use your local timber, or are you going to get like tires, or what you going to do there? Little people scare me, Wes S. said. I don't know why you say that, brother. You're a big old fella. I wouldn't think any little people would scare you. Shalom, Pastor Joe. Guest appearance.
Shalom. I ordered all those things.
He ordered all those things. He ordered some things. He is adorable. Did not like the car ride. Yeah. Hey, Aid.
What's up, Boots? What's up, Boots?
People are saying shalom to you, Pastor. Didn't like the car ride. Yeah, puppies who don't normally go in the car, especially when they're getting adopted, sometimes that car ride home can be really freaky. I know with our Ridgeback it was the same way.
Does that matter, Vicky?
Yeah. They delivered.
The puppy?
Yeah, and they delivered the box.
Thank you.
I also fear Chihuahua. Vicky, Pastor said to tell you thank you.
Which puppy did they get?
They got a little reddish one, I think she said. Cool. Did you get the red one or the black one, Vicky? Sister Vicky, I should say. What was I talking about, y'all? Oh, I get interrupted. Ozarks Prepared was going to tell us what he's going to make his bushcraft cabin out of. I think that'd be really interesting. What was I going to tell you? Oh, yeah, my last video, which 157 of you all watched, and I thank you for that. the graphics were backwards. I was trying to do a whiteboard thing because you know, it's sort of important. So I just got a car like what y'all have, and I'm trying to be more like Fox. I might have to shave my head and grow my beard some. Is that Westhold? Who is that? Get out of here. Chasing Life. Shalom. Yes, Westhold. Grow my beard some. Get out of here, Westhold. You're a larger-than-life personality yourself. You don't need to copy anybody. The graphics were backwards, and I tried to correct it with an editing program and so on, and I couldn't. And so I thought I would see if I could. Can you guys read this? I think you can. What happens is when I have the selfie part of the camera pointed at me, it reverses things in the picture, but if I turn this camera around and just directed it at me straight without the selfie side, I think it reads it fine. And you guys have commented on that when we do the videos in the car. So can you guys see that? It says 3 options. These are the medical options for this pandemic, for this virus. And I wanted to get them out because they are our only 3 options. Actually, I skipped a step, but that's okay. I'll talk about it. And I want to say it because it should help clarify in your minds, like, what is actually going on. Because the press is not reporting this stuff correctly. And so people get mixed up in their ideas and they don't quite understand. We only have 3 options with a pandemic and a viral outbreak. The first one is quarantine. If you quarantine yourself, you're not going to come in contact with that virus. And so you will not get sick. You will also not have immunity. Let me see if this is moving. It is moving. You're welcome. We got the black with the brown. Oh, cute. Reverse. Reverse. It's backwards, but I can read it. That looks totally wrong to me. It was still a good video. Thank you, Rick. Do you know what Sue said? Wait. It's backwards, but I can read it. So I'm seeing it in my screen as correct. That's so weird because I wrote it backwards. I wrote it, you know, with the letters going backwards. All right, so quarantine was your first option. Your second option is illness. Can you read that? It says illness, survival, and immunity. If you quarantine yourself, you don't come in contact with the virus. Your second option is you come in contact with the virus, however it happens, and you get ill. Or you come in contact with it and you don't get it for whatever reason. Your immunity is really strong, or you wash your hands, or whatever. But if you get the illness, then you have two outcomes for getting sick with this illness. You survive it, and when you survive the illness, then you get immunity. Okay, now they're already doing tests on the immunity to this particular virus, and this is not all I'm going to talk about in this live stream. This is just because of the latest video, and then I'll move on. They're talking about you may not have very much immunity to this virus, like 5% after you've gotten it, so you may get sick again. And Earl's daughter, are you in here? Hey, Spaz Mama. Kitchen Mama, Voodoo Kitchen Mama. Hey, y'all. Yes, Earl's daughter. Awesome. Hey, Shalom. Pharma. Yes. That is wacky. You wrote it backwards, and you're seeing it correctly, but we see it backwards. Oh, my gosh. That's so frustrating. So that means if I wrote this thing forward, you guys would see it. Give me a minute. I'm going to go get a magic marker. Give me 1 minute. Oh, that's so crazy. Get out of there, you goober. And Uli, you can get off the chair. Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. Okay. Look. Okay, now I'm back. Okay. It has to be some setting somewhere. You aren't the only one that happens to. You're the best sister going to get Marker to rewrite it for us. Oh, Chasing Life, thank you. I'm going to try it. Okay? I'm going to try it. So let me go one more time, and I've done it with different marker and everything. 3 options. Okay. And actually, it's more like 4. Probably ought to cross that out and put 4 options. Okay, can y'all read that? That's the first option. Could you read that? Let me see. A lot of work for us. Feeling the love indeed. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Yes, you can read that. Okay, so that's your first option. You quarantine yourself. Now, this is for a pandemic virus, okay? Probably would work for a bacterial thing too, but, you know, it's what we're dealing with. So your second one is if you get the illness. You survive it, you're supposed to get immunity. That's how most viral, like if you catch the common cold, you're going to have immunity to that version of it. If it mutates, you're not necessarily going to have it. So there's number 2. Right? You survive. And then your last option is you don't survive it. Right? But I'm going to put a caveat in there. Hey, Bunna. Okay, so last thing is you don't survive it. Right? Can you turn that down, please, Pastor? Okay. You don't survive it. And there are 163,000 Americans who have not survived the pandemic. And I think the stats are 99% of the people who got it are the people who are older or very ill. So if you're young and healthy, you know, your chances are higher that you will survive it. And it's 163,000 out of 5 million approximately so far who have tested positive for it, right? And then the caveat to all of this is a vaccine. And a vaccine is something that is going to give you a weakened version of the virus in the hopes that your system will develop the immunity to fight it off. That's how it normally works, and they give it to people who haven't already had it, who have not already been sick with it. Because the assumption is if you've already been sick with it, you'll develop the immunity. And so this is why Pastor and I are trying the quarantine. Now, we are not completely 100% quarantined. We spend most of the time here on Shofar. Occasionally, we go in town, and when we do, we wear masks, and we use a lot of hand sanitizer. I think I got it. Waiting on a test, can't smell or taste anything. Jacob, that is one of the symptoms of it. There's a lot of different symptoms, and one of them is you can't taste anything. All right, so you quarantine, or you get the illness, and you survive it, and you hopefully develop immunity. They're still researching that, but the immunity right now is pretty weak, which means you could get it again, especially if it mutates, which is kind of what the common cold does. Or you don't survive it, or you get a vaccine for it. And supposedly they're developing the vaccines right now, and Russia's already got one that they're using on people. Fauci said he thinks it's kind of iffy. He's not sure if that's going to work. But I told you the story of Abigail Adams with the smallpox and how they just scratched the skin and put liquid from the pox into the wound, and people got sick. One of her kids got a mild case. The other one got a very serious case. But that's really all the options we have, medically speaking, right now with this virus, because it's what's called novel, and novel means new. And novel means none of the medical people have any idea about how this thing is going to behave and how it's going to affect people. And somebody sent me a video where a doctor said she thinks it's going to change your DNA when you get it. And that's entirely possible because the virus steals some of your DNA anyway. That's how it mutates. So that could have an effect, but I haven't done a bunch of research on you know, how probable that is. So when it's a novel virus, these are the things that the doctors don't know about. There's no research done on it except for the people who were looking into SARS over there in China, and possibly their research, what they're doing escaped, and that's how we got it. They don't know anything about the symptoms, so they're going off of who's been sick so far. And at first it was, you know, the sore throat and then the coughing. But after that, there were people developing headaches. They were unable to taste. Some people, it affects their whole system, like that poor guy, Nick Cordero. It made his kidney shut down. It gave him pneumonia. They actually, I had to amputate one of his legs because his circulation was so poor from it, so on. And then they don't know the after effects. Only according to who's gotten it now and what research they have done, some people, it leaves their heart weaker. Some people have had strokes. That means your circulatory system has been affected by the fact that your lungs aren't working correctly and you haven't gotten enough oxygen in your system. I just want you to know that, so when you're hearing news stories or you're on like a social media, Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, when someone says something about it, you have the medical information to know if they are just making it up or if they actually know what they're talking about. Because I see a lot of disinformation, excuse me, even in the media, trying to say that, you know, Trump recommended a completely lethal drug that isn't effective. Excuse me, the hydrochloroquine. Well, he wasn't recommending it. He was saying that researchers were telling the administration that this thing looked promising in certain cases. But the press turns it into, you know, something else. So that's the only reason I wanted to do that. Okay, so let's go to what you guys. No vaccine for me and the kids. Not me. The after effects don't get talked about enough. Even if you survive it, a pretty good risk of getting something else from it, right? And you guys have already asked me, you know, are you going to get a vaccine? And I said I really, unless it gets really deadly, I may risk it. But vaccines are, you know, they're experimental. And there used to be trials of all kinds, and they'd use animals like rabbits or monkeys or whatever to try to see if a certain drug, you know, had certain side effects. But now that the PETA and everybody has made it, you know, you can't do those things, they have to use clinical trials on humans who are willing and get paid to get these vaccines to see what the results are. And you still don't know, years after that, the after effects on them. You know, if they took the vaccine, they probably get tested maybe, you know, a day after they get it, and then like 2 weeks after, and then 6 weeks after. But are they tested 2 years after it to make sure the vaccine itself didn't cause problems? And it's really expensive to do all that. That's why there isn't a lot of research. Too many doctors coming out saying the mall area drug works now to deny it. I'm not sure, Wes, what you're referencing there. But anyway, we can move on. I didn't want the whole live stream to be about that. I know I've beaten you guys over the head with this information, and I don't want to do that. So, what do y'all think about this big windstorm ruining crops in a big swath up in the north? Idaho, Iowa, Illinois, corn ruined. John Ray. What do you know about that? I can't spell the chloroform. Oh, the hydrochloroform. I have a lot of friends up there, and their places are tore up. right? I mean, we preppers already have discussed and, seen videos and done videos and everything on food shortages from what happened in China, what happened in the Middle East, the locusts, the African swine flu thing that killed a bunch of pigs in China, and the fact that they're going to need protein and where they're going to get it from. And then the locusts in the Middle East and Yemen and Syria and just all around there, they're still there. Parts of Africa still have those locusts. They're laying eggs and they're hatching out and they're continuing to destroy crops. That was, we predicted. We saw this thing and said, that's going to make food scarcer. And then the Mississippi flooded this past spring, was it? Or maybe last spring? It flooded the crop area near us, and don't know if they're going to be able to get like a rice crop or a corn crop or a soy crop out of, along the Mississippi. And now we have this, all this corn getting destroyed. Where was the corn all knocked down last week? West. It was up north. It was like Idaho, Illinois, Iowa, Nebraska, like just swept through some huge storm. Hey, Sasquatch, Iowa. Yep, Iowa. Supposedly, millions of acres of corn destroyed. What do you all think that means? I know what I think it means. I know Des Moines got hit pretty hard. Sheepdog's friend has a farm that lost all their corn and soybeans. Iowa got hit pretty bad. And isn't that area also up there where like potatoes from Idaho and all that? What do you think that's going to mean for us in the near future? Over 10 million acres, Housewife in the Woods said. Northern California now entering a heat wave. Garden's going to fry. Garden girl, get some shade up. Put some tarps up. 10 million acres in Iowa destroyed. John Ray, if you're still online, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. Because I look at it this way. Well, I haven't heard from you guys yet. You guys tell me what you think that means. It was like 40% of all Iowa crops were affected. That means China will get less of our corn, Spaz Mama. Coming food shortage, corn is in a lot of food. Anybody else? I agree with both those things. No movie popcorn next summer? Nope. Prices are going to go higher, says Rick. Housewife in the Woods said they've lost 30% of their crops this year. Scotty John says keep stacking food. A lot less corn syrup to sweeten things, says Jesus. Like all of it. Yep, just about everything. I agree. I mean, I don't think it's extreme to look at news like that and then draw a conclusion from it. I think it makes sense if you look at that and then go, Not only is it in a lot of our food, it's a lot of what is fed to our food. Cattle, pigs, chicken feed, deer corn, all of that corn, right? And America produces lots and lots of it, and the country probably has a lot stored. I mean, I know I've driven by, what do you call it? I've driven by grain mills north of us this year that still had wheat in their parking lot covered with like a huge tarp. So there was an excess. There was a really good crop last year. So we will have it stored, but the amount that is, needed for feeding cattle, for shipping overseas, for food production is a lot. And so if people have grain like that stored up right now, it's going to get dear, isn't it? It's going to suddenly, I think, go up in price. And that's why if you're on Patreon again, you saw Pastor and I went out and bought some corn yesterday because we're anticipating the price of it will go up. But something else I saw in the news, and I forget if it was CNN or our dear corn sprout and weevils, even in a lot of dog food, exactly. And our deer corn will too. If you keep it where it's moist and warm, the weevils will either get into it, or if they're in it, they'll come out. If you can keep it somewhere really cool, I think that would help. Or if you bucket it in the Mylar bags. But guess what? Pastor Joe was looking for Mylar bags on the Amazon today, and they were out. Hello from the Great North Woods, Maine, potato country. Great growing season here. The farmers allow us to gather any potatoes the machines miss until the next round of floods and storms go through. Scott Chasing, good information though. He's saying Maine has lots of potatoes, so maybe potatoes are going to take over for a while as the main starch instead of corn, at least for consumers. Maybe not for feed, but maybe, and it's going to be very valuable if it's needed that badly, and the price for potatoes will probably go up. But like I was about to tell y'all, it might have been CNN, it might have been Fox News, said that food prices have been going up steadily since February. And I'm wondering if you all have noticed that. Mylar bags are extinct. Put corn in the freezer for a week to kill the bugs like meal moths. John Ray. Yes. And John, how was your area with this storm? Are your crops just fine? Or, did your area get whammy by this storm too? What do you know about that, brother? Okay. You're lucky, Scott. Massachusetts had a terrible growing season. MA, right? That is Massachusetts. We are truly blessed. So have you all noticed food prices going up in your area? I'm trying to think if I've noticed it, really dramatically. And I don't think I have. But again, when you buy for two people, it's not, it's not a huge amount. It's people with families that get hit hardest. Edible corn fungus, aka smut. Ohio corn and soybeans look good right now. Okay, good. ME is Maine, right? What's MA? Massachusetts? Ledwin Merritt. Corn fungus smut. I tried it one year after a hailstorm. Friends at work paid me for it. Trash to treasure. Tasted like mild mushrooms. Yes. No crops down here in Texas to speak of. Wes, what do y'all eat down there with no crops? Meat prices at the grocery store is going up. I think I'll pick up some feed corn tomorrow. Package sizes are smaller prices. Yep. 2 and 3 cents here and there. Meat has gone stupid high. So when is the press going to start reporting that? When is the press going to start saying, hey, food is getting more expensive, food is getting more scarce, or will they just ignore it and just kind of do politics so that nobody gets super upset, like the lobster being boiled in the hot water, or the frog, a little bit at a time, as we continue to tighten our belts. And I think I'll pick up some feed corn tomorrow. Westhold, I think that's probably a good idea. Meat has been ridiculous. Hey, shalom. Tim, shalom. Meat is the worst in Texas, but we tend to buy the clearance stuff and repackage and stick in the freezer. And why is meat in Texas so expensive? I mean, millions of head of cattle down there in Texas. You would think you guys would be doing okay, but maybe they're all shipping it overseas because of China's protein problem. They have been reporting the states have been stockpiling. I believe that too. I believe that would be a wise move for a state, especially a state that has a lot of production, like apparently Maine and Ohio. I would think the state, for its own people, would start to say, I don't want to ship it overseas. I don't want to send it to India or China or, Cuba or wherever they send it. I don't know these things, but I could see that at a state level being a deal. I mean, can you imagine if you're the state who produces the most sorghum, molasses or something? Like you said, sweet stuff is going to get more expensive and more rare. Your state could get a lot of money if you're, a big sorghum producer and you've got a stockpile of it. They might start reporting it after the election, right? I think they're going to use the election right now to keep everybody's eyes focused elsewhere. Ignore it. They ignore the true issues. Shalom from Seattle. One old man and Yah. I'll bet they ignore. We eat same things as everyone else, only bigger, and we usually grow a lot of food. Corn, beans, onions, potatoes, peas, but not this year. But you have a... Well, I'm not even going to talk about it. Yep. Hopefully you have a little bit stored up from past years. Right? The election announcement and the hubbub following it. They will wait as long as they can and then lie about it. That's a possibility also. They've been buying large quantities of shelf-stable food. It's on the regular news. Smart. We grow Milo also, and okra, squash, tomatoes, and grapes. Awesome. They said for the anticipated need, they are expecting Housewife in the Woods. Which state are you in again? John Ray, feds used to keep strategic grain reserves, no longer the case. The problem with commercial row crops is most are grown on contract, so you don't really have control of where it goes. Most are grown on contract, so you really don't control. So you grow your thing, and even if your family's starving, because you contracted it, you got to ship it to where it's supposed to go. Shalom over to Bus. Welcome. Put some aside, but we were hoping for a better year in the garden. Not a single canning day this year. Man, Wes, I hear you. The canning. Did any of y'all see the canning stuff on Instagram that I put up there? We were blessed by someone that we know who had a bunch of chicken and distributed it to a lot of people in our area. And so... Omi, today you look like a babushka. I think I look like a babushka often, homesteader. Alaska's been cold and wet. Slow garden. I've been cabbage worms and all my cabbage, hand picking them off. They are a mess. Spies, Mama, mine too. And my Brussels sprouts. I went out there today and I've been hand killing harlequin bugs on those things for weeks. And today discovered a whole bunch more. But the plants are big and they're still growing some shoots, some Brussels sprouts, and some of them are you know, opening up. They look like little cabbages, but they're still edible, so I pulled a bunch more off. And because I have like 10 or 12 plants in 2 different locations, I'm just trying to nurse them through until the cold weather comes, and they should be good. Off-grid northern Minnesota. The report was out of Washington State, and the man said one of the issues is they were all competing with all of the states for the canned reserves in huge warehouses, right? I'm sure that's kind of similar to the pandemic supplies where you have to apply to FedGov for the relief and then the FedGov releases it to your state. And I'm sure it's similar. So, you know, you've got to be first in line and have those hands out. And if your state system is slow and you're at the end of the line, you may not get as much. But states growing their own, like Maine and Kansas and Nebraska and all the other states, unless it's contracted to go somewhere, they can start like saying, no, you're not going to send that anywhere. You're going to keep that in state, and we're going to put it in our reserves. I keep moving around so much because flies are bothering my legs. Too wild. Best thing ever for cabbage worms and moths is pyrethrin. Are you talking about permethrin? Or is that a different chemical? Hey, C103. I have used neem oil. I need a slug tree. Ammo is too scarce. Right? And that's another thing. Ammo is suddenly very scarce, which tells you people are stockpiling and buying it up in anticipation of stuff coming up. Not necessarily a bad thing. Now, I did want to say, as far as, you know, the situation, the number of infected people and the number of people who have passed away so far this year has kind of stayed the same-ish. I think, you know, if I went to one of my videos from a month or two ago, there were possibly 3 million infected, and now we're at 5 million. But the 5 million, it's kind of sat there. And it is something that the experts, Fauci and so on, said because it's summer, not as many people would be catching the virus, and they anticipate it to go up a second wave in the fall, which I've talked about. 1918, that's what it did. So the numbers right now, I don't think are something to get super alarmed at. I still, I'm going to be very, very cautious in the way I do things, but I'm not going to get worried about it. It's when you get that many dead people in 1 month. 163,000 so far since February, March timeframe, 6 months. When you have that many in 1 month, then it's significant. So right now, we're coasting. But we are dealing with everything else that's happening in the country, including this storm. Try diatomaceous earth for worms. We should keep all of our food home. I thought I heard Russia was. I'm sure Russia probably is. It's all natural from the chrysanthemum flower. Pyrethrin. Okay. And lumber. I hear you. Do not see anything. Is it my internet? Or... Homesteader 50 with Ricky and Martha. Cool. Lumber here is getting pricey. We should be a little concerned about seeds. I agree. I bet they're... Well, I know I was in a Lowe's recently, and they still had a lot of seeds on their shelf, and so did TSC. But not as much as they had earlier on in the summer. Aid, what are they saying over in your neck of the woods about the food? Because I read today, I think on Twitter, that the UK is having the worst recession in years. Is that what you're hearing? Lumber here is scarce. Diatomaceous earth. And when lumber finally comes in, it's going to be unaffordable. Well, that's no good. Would vacuum saving seeds extend their serviceable life? I would think so, but I also think if you kept them cool, because heat stimulates growth and all that. Here in Alabama, our garden was amazing. We have winter squash all over the house, sweet potatoes, dry beans, and tomatoes. Homesteader 50 with Ricky Martha. Well, that's awesome. Hopefully you can store all of that stuff and make it through, if food shortages happen, that you guys make it through on what you grew. And that was the whole point of Pastor Joe and my videos earlier on in the year, saying get a garden and plant stuff. Even if you can't do it, you don't have a yard or whatever, container garden, like get some food. And I was going to tell you that story about the chicken that was given to us, and then we canned it all. I canned it all in a 10-hour span, using 2 different canners. Pastor had gotten me an All-American canner, a couple of years ago, and I hadn't even used it. And then I had an old Miro canner, and I had only gotten, maybe 10 pounds of this chicken, asked for, and there's a mosquito, got him, 10 pounds of this chicken, and then a sister had gotten 7 cases. And when I contacted her, she's like, oh yeah, it's going to take me days. And I said, well, hey, you too. They see a deer. I said, give me 2 cases, I will can them for you. And she said, no, I got these extra ones for someone else. You keep that's yours. And so that's why I canned it all so quickly, because we don't have a lot of storage space otherwise. And if you think about 1 quart was about 4 or 5 breast cutlets. If I used, if I get the jar out, then that's really kind of like 2 meals worth of protein for Pastor and I. So 35 quarts would be 70 days worth of protein. And if you think of a 365 day a year and divide it in there, every 4 days we could have chicken twice in a day. And that's just a very general thing to think about, but take advantage. Like someone here just said, we wait for meat to go on sale and then we repackage and we freeze it. Wait for meat to go on sale in your area and then can the heck out of it. You know what I mean? Get your stuff now while there's still stuff around. All right, so let me see what you guys would say. Where can I send you and Pastor a link to something I think you should see about how they count the vivid deaths right from the horse's mouth, because it's not what we think at all. You can send it to my email, morrigan55@hotmail.com. And that's Morrigan is MORRIGAN 55 at Hotmail. Hey, Deborah, shalom. Seeds last for years. They do. Okay. Okay. I freeze, refrigerate some too. Also mason jars. Excellent. And the reason I say can if you can is because the can jars will last like 7 years, whereas if your freezer, if you lose power and it starts to thaw out, you're going to lose what's frozen in there. Unless you then, once it's thawed out, you can it then. You can do that, but you're going to have a whole freezer full, and some of y'all have chest freezers and stand-up freezers. And so if you lose power, you're going to have to do the canning, whereas if you do it up front now, you don't have to worry about that, especially for your excess. At this moment in time in my area, no food shortages yet, but a lot of unemployment. We're going to talk about that next. Wholesale price on lumber has gone up from $301 per thousand board feet to over $700 per thousand board feet in the last 6 months. Oldie, why do you think that is? Why do y'all think lumber's going up? Don't forget to help the elderly get set for winter. Exactly. Or let's say you have older parents, and I don't have this particular case myself, but if you have your older parents live near you, you can and buy things for them and then store it at their place. Or even have a plan if you know it gets really bad with the food shortage, to have them move in with you and feed them there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Say hi to the millennial man and that crazy girl of his. Texas misses them already. I will do that thing, Wes. I will absolutely do that thing. But I've not had problems with seeds that I've done anything additional to either. Just a few, maybe 5 years old for seeds that I've just left out. No problems with them. Wow, Chasing Life, you've had I won't say lucky. It's just really good. Because in my, I'm not very organized, so my seeds could be even way older than that. But seeds are going to be better a year or two after you've dried them. We get about 2 pounds of meat per quart. Sure. That's a good video. Good video from Millennial Man, though. I will let him know. I need to can two goats, come to think of it. Well, there you go. That'd be a lot of meat. Christine Taylor, good evening, Sister Kate. Glad I caught you on. Christine Taylor, you did an Instagram post today that I really liked. If you don't mind reminding me, there was something you put out there that I thought was really good. Taking Puppy for a walk. Shalom. Have a great evening. Shalom, Sister Vicky. Give the $6.50 for a pressure-treated 8-foot 2x4. Oh my gosh, I remember when they were $2. Well, Bobcat is eating good. Just took one of my birds, dang it. Oh, no! You need a trap or something, girlfriend. The freezer is a storage point until I have time to can most of it. Some is dehydrated, some is saved for fresh. Hey, oldie, Kentucky home here. I don't know how everyone eats their canned chicken, but use it in soups and casserole and other ways to make patty nuggets like salmon patties, yellow squash, or okra nuggets. Nice. I plan on probably just putting it in a casserole. The government is buying a lot. Imports have stopped. And the lumber mills are shut down in a lot of areas. All 3 good points, oldie. How many people have enough jars to can their freezers? Now, we started seeing a shortage of jars in our area. And jar prices have gone up too. And believe it or not, in our area, Lowe's got in like pallets of jars. Lowe's, I don't think Lowe's normally carries canning pallets, but Lowe's got in a whole thing, and like people we knew were texting us and texting other people to get up there, and someone picked up a bunch for me. Excuse me. Picked up a bunch for me and was going to buy them and like distribute them to our friends and stuff like that. But Lowe's, I mean, really. Dehydrating to add to your preps. Yes, dehydrating is really, really smart and it's easy to do. Y'all stay safe and enjoy the day's blessings. Back to work for me. All right, Mike, thanks for swinging by. Be safe, buddy. Woohoo, made it. Sending happy waves to everyone. Good news. The deer that ate the tops of my cherry tomato plants have survived and threw up blossoms on new shoots. Praise the Father. Well, hallelujah. I actually brought in a couple of tomatoes off the tomato raised bed out there. I'm actually really excited that I got any tomatoes at all. Hard to find canning lids. Yeah. Oh yeah, the jar prices went from around $1 a jar. So, you know, somewhere around $10 to $12 a dozen to $15 a dozen, and they were on sale. They were supposed to be $18, so going up. None of your beeswax. Hello, Sister Kate. Hello. Did see some Care 12-pack quartz yesterday, $12.99. Not the worst price. No, that's not bad. Hello, D-Leb from Louisiana. I tried dehydrating the store food, but it made me thirsty. No jars or lids in my area. I was able to purchase close to 400 lids online. Nice. Susan Bryant, Chasing Life. You guys were going to email me about a women's Torah group on Wednesday evenings, and I don't know if you did that or which email you sent it to, but it's morrigan55@hotmail.com. That's MORRIGAN55@hotmail. So I still think I'd like to do that. We are still doing the things here in the Lone Star State. Gardens are going strong, but harder to find canning supplies. Good. I'm glad none of your beeswax. $32 a box, price gouging. I went to Target $10.50 and bought extra jars and just had them shipped. Well, there you go. That's smart shopping. Someone we know who does resale was going on eBay, and canners were $300 to $700 for an all-American canner, and normally they're about $100. And this person was shipping some of these canners to Europe, like to the Netherlands and Italy and places like that, which I thought was really strange. Like, do they not have canners in Europe? Are people not, you know, do they not home can over there? Telling you. Dehydrating is amazing. We are at about $12 a dozen for canning jars. So the price gouging has not hit you all, but it hit my area. Sorry, sister, I will do that. Okay, no sweat. I just thought of it myself, so no sweat. Just if you get a chance, please. Women's Tour Group, online or personal? I believe it's online. Chasing Life is right there. She's one of the ladies who knows about it. You're welcome to ask her about it. Might be time to load the boats. Home canning is a purely American thing. Are you serious? I don't know why anyone else. We found a good deal on corn and hard red wheat. Excellent. Where did you get that? None of your beeswax. Canning supplies are in limited supply out my way in Northwest Pennsylvania. $21.99. Wait a minute. A dozen ball jars out this way if you can find them. Holy smokes. Wow. That's the most expensive I've heard. What I understand, the U.S. is one of the few countries that does pressure canning. Many just do water bath. Okay, well that explains that. So that's a tip for you all too. It's online and it's a Zoom group. Okay. Housewife in the Woods. I sent the link to you. Hang on. I sure hope I got the email right or something is going to think I'm nuts. Right? MORRIGAN55@hotmail. I'll have to check my spam too. Just, you know, see if I missed it. Hummingbird, 2 o'clock eye. That's right. I just put more food in their feeder right over there. They were buzzing around me, giving me sass, like they always do, because it was empty. And they, you know, whenever I'm outside and I was doing laundry right back there by hand. Finally, Got a pressure canner, last one on the shelf. No jars at that store, but a friend has a ton they don't use. Another place to look for jars, of course, is thrift stores and places like that. Hey, kitty cat. She's coming for food. What's up? Normally, last week she hasn't done any, doesn't care about me at all, but since my daughter is not here right now, she's come down to see people. Come here, puss. Come here, puss. I should let you all see all the critters that are just sitting around here. 1, 2, 3, and then there she went, 4. She wants food. I hope that didn't make anybody nauseous. All right, got a bounce, duck and chicken things to do, obies to walk, wood boogers to check off. All right, shalom. Wes is right. I would have to specially import the canner from the U.S. Oh my gosh, Aid. I'm kind of surprised by that. I guess when you're in a civilized country that's more than 200 years old, maybe you guys don't think it's a necessary thing, but in America, people still have them, mainly for their own gardens. But it's a really money saver. If you can get food that's on sale, you can can it yourself, and you can get it at that reduced price. Wow. Hi, I made a live stream. Hey, Vajaling. I have not had a chance to watch your video yet because I'm pretty busy still. Invented here, practiced here. Totally American. Well, what do you know? Took a while for me to find a canner, but I'm loving it. The jars are another story. I've had a jar break before. This past time I was canning, I canned tomatoes, and one of those jars broke in there, and I was so upset because, you know, if you can tomatoes, it can be a really time-consuming process. And I had 4 quarts and one broke. It was heartbreaking, but it does happen. I don't have a pressure canner. That's one of the reasons I'm dehydrating. Besides, it takes up less space, and the food keeps its nutrients. You're exactly right, and it lasts a long time, and it doesn't weigh anything. I need new fingers and the ability to type. Let me feed this cat just really quickly, and I'll sit back down because I want to get a fly swatter too. Hey, puss, what's up? Come here, you little booger. Okay. Let me quick step over here. There. As you can tell, I got all dolled up for this live stream. Boy, I put on my super fancy clothes. At least they're clean. There, now I can protect my ankles. Back in my day, my 80-year-old auntie used to can in a 55-gallon drum, stacks at a time, laugh out loud. So what would she do? She'd put things in between the jars? That's a lot. So I have to pay for the canner, then postage, and then import taxes. Scam! Well, canners are getting expensive, Aid. If you ever wanted one, now's the time to try to get one.
Never wanted one a year ago. Was the time to get one.
Well, of course, but it's too late. It's too late for that. A year ago, you could have gotten one easily, but it's too late. Kind of got to scramble. I did get it. I thought Wes was joking. That would be very out of character for him, though. Okay. Been learning water bath canning, so I'm excited to try the pressure canner, working on dehydrating too. Excellent. And you can water bath can in, no, in a large pot. Water bath canner pots, they're big. I mean, you can get, 7 quarts in them and stuff like that. But the main thing about canning and water bath canning is you have to have something in the bottom of the pot. So I canned those tomatoes in a regular stock pot, but I put sure, that'd be fine. I either put silverware in the bottom because silverware gets really hot, when you clean it, or I put canning jar rings in the bottom to keep the jars off the bottom of the pot, because if you leave it where it can touch them, then they'll get too hot and they may break. But you can water bath can in a stock pot too. Gotta have gotta have a lid, and this water's got to be 1 inch to 2 inches above the level of the top of the jar. You used to be able to buy tin cans and lids and canned food in tins at home. I played with the lid machine the other day. And the Mormon canneries can in tin cans, number 10 cans, the bigger ones. Okay, went through a Mennonite commercial canning operation. I do business, got 2 pallets, 220 dozen jars for the group. Wow!
220 dozen?
Yes, John Ray. John Ray does nothing small.
No, he doesn't.
He does everything big. Well, that's going to be a blessing to them, John. That's going to be a real blessing for them. I still water bath can, mainly because I'm only fluent in tomatoes and fruit. I've not tried my hand meats. My mom has offered me her pressure pot, but to be honest, pressurization makes me nervous. Wendy, I'm gonna tell you right now, get that pressure canner from your mom.
Yep.
Have her explain to you how it works.
You can watch everything on YouTube.
But you can watch videos on YouTube, and she's probably got a canning book, the Ball Blue book. One of y'all posted the Ball Blue book on Instagram too. A photo of it is like the Bible of canning, and so get your hand on that. But other books have canning instructions too. Carla Emery's Encyclopedia of Country Living has it. A book series called Stocking Up has it. If you just enter, canning times or canning tomatoes, pressure canning or whatever in your search engine, you will get instructions and tables for that. But it's really valuable, and you don't need to be afraid. If you follow the directions,
fear not,
everything will work out just fine. We are busy packaging everything for the BOL, along with stocking up here too. Glad to have found more supplies. Our cabin should be done soon. Very smart. None of your beeswax. Did you say where you got your corn and stuff? Yep, metal between. Stack jars of green beans, etc. Fire under it and then cover, and after the water cools, they would pull them out. That's just a later version of what I was talking about right now about the stock pot. If you're going to water bath can, and I think people used to water bath can green beans, I think it's recommended now that you pressure can them. But if you were water bath canning, as long as that water is 2 inches above the top of the can, then you could do it in a 55-gallon drum, no problem. You just do it for the specified number of amount of time, and then let it cool down and take them out. That's amazing. That's really cool. And you can over a fire. I've done it. You just have to regulate your heat, and your pressure canner will have a way to do that. It'll either have a dial that'll show you numbers, or it'll have a little rocker thing, and that's pretty simple too. Richard instead of Rick on Facebook, oldie. Well, I'm glad you guys are getting in contact with each other. Shalom, my people. Hey, shalom, Caleb. That's very cool, Wes. Had to take a drive to the big city, but got canning supplies for cheaper than out by us where people were charging double what the stuff is worth. We have a regular canner, but I was wondering if I can can using our old crawfish boiler to can large quantities outside. Since we don't eat crawfish anymore, we need to use the pot for something. Yes, Susan Bryant, you could water bath can with that. Just as long as you put something in the bottom so the cans are not sitting right on it. Like I said, canning lids, silverware, what do you call it? Bolts, spacers, washers, and it's got to be, ½ inch. Keeping them up off the direct heat. Huge stock pots, insane applesauce maker, but I have a couple metal racks. Yes. You get over it the first time. Yes, you do. No problem, Wendy. It's true. Okay. Washcloth in it for my first pressure canning experience. Jars of water with a washcloth. Mostly get used to the process, but I have sterile water now. Exactly. And that's one way to test it out if you want to, is just do water. Canning carrots to practice, easy and not expensive if you mess up. Good tip. And then an older family would use a 50-gallon drum, stacked and put the lid on and build a fire. Okay, yep. she'd have 2 of them going. You still have to watch using a fire under the canners with a rubber gasket. Right. I mean, you have to be careful about all of it. Okay, so we've talked about canners. We've talked about the pandemic and medical. We've talked about the... Oh, can you hear that kitten? She is such a stink. All right, bribery works. Here you go, cat. We've talked about the windstorm and the damage to the crop. So then I wanted to talk about the politics. It's very risky, very chancy. Getting you guys talking about that. I don't want y'all arguing with each other or name calling or anything like that. But I think it's a very interesting election season with the riots that have been going on, with all the crazy, crazy stuff I see on Twitter. There are some screaming liberals on Twitter with big followings who just flat out say the most outrageous things that are not true about our government right now, and are definitely trying to influence people who don't know any better. So I think there could be a very large group of people moving left, which is how our political scene, how our political scene has been moving for years now. Since Ronald Reagan was in office, everyone coming after them has moved kind of left. Even Republicans, the Bushes were right, but also towards New World Order. You know what I mean? And so I think there's a chance that young people will believe the nonsense, and then it could affect the politics. So let me see what else. Lotus K from the Adirondacks. Peace to you and PJ. Thank you, Ed Healy. I'm so going to vote for Carmel Heresy. Okay. Heck yeah. Did you see they seized 20,000 fake IDs that came from China? I did see that. My auntie has so many things they did on the farm 80 years. I love listening to her. They had no electric, and since we're off grid, she's been a wealth of information. Housewife in the Woods. You might want to think about doing some videos on that, because she is a wealth of information. Never know when we'll have to rely on those things. I like doing that too. Reagan, the president, was actually our friend. Yeah, he and Margaret Thatcher, you know, had a very good relationship there. We've got an incumbent president, and he's right in the middle of a international pandemic. And that affects politics. It absolutely does. It affects lots of different things. If you watch his briefings, he and his administration are trying to do things like get vaccines developed and produce masks and ventilators and all kinds of stuff. So it's not like he's just sitting there doing nothing. He is doing something. Our economy has taken a blow. Right before the news of the pandemic came out, the economy was at its highest. Unemployment was at its lowest. Even for minorities, unemployment was the lowest it had ever been. And in spite of, you know, TV shows like Saturday Night Live and comedians who were bashing Trump, our country was doing okay. And so we've got this election coming up, and I really think it's fascinating that Biden was chosen by the left, by the Democrats, as the guy to go when they had... I mean, he's as old as Trump, and Trump did appeal to, you know, most Republicans for whatever reason, but he's pretty old too. And you know, there's so many things people have posted about Biden having mental issues and saying very racist things and very what do you call it, like delusional dementia kind of things. The election will be a formality. The left's plan is for the unrest to open the door for a hostile takeover of the country from within. Well, if they can... Sorry, I'm playing with cat food. I need to concentrate, you guys. I'm sorry. Because our country has had the families torn apart, because our societal norms have shifted left, and the whole transgender thing, and political correctness, and you can't say anything bad about anybody, and so on. And we've also been urged to spy on each other with our phones. There's a whole generation of people who don't know what life was like here in the 50s. And a whole generation of people who don't know about the 60s, but the 60s get, glamorized by plays and movies and the hippie culture, and even fashion, likes to harken back, to have tie-dye shirts available and so on. People born in the 80s, 90s, especially the 90s, suddenly it gets kind of iffy in America, and it's not cool to be an American, and capitalism's not cool, and socialism's a lot better, and so on. Hey, Norm. High employment rate for the disabled, physical and mental, even in mainstream stores like grocery, department stores, and okay. Pretty sure either way things are going to be bad. One way policies will allow everything to go terrible, and the other way there will be temper tantrums so bad it will be terrible. Agree. But the point I'm getting to is, with the pandemic killing off a huge amount of our older people, that is a whole generation of people who remember the 50s, who were adults in the 50s and early 60s, who remember when America was just like the envy of the world and was setting standards in television making and fashion and business and just all sorts of things. And since the 60s, it's been like a downhill slide. So they're just going to be gone, and these young people will have no example except these, very leftist musicians and video games and all sorts of stuff. They're not going to understand what benefits the country has from things like a democratic republic, and a legal system, and an executive system with checks and balances, and all of that. And so I think it's a big move on their part, and I know pastors probably said this before. They pick an older guy, Biden, who's not doing well, and then they pick a much younger vice president, running mate. I think that's smart. I'm wondering why the Republicans didn't think of it. Not that Mike Pence is, old, but he's certainly not young. But our country in general is very much into, the new stuff, and the young people were that kind of energetic country. We're not so much for, established things. And like in England with AIDS, somebody said, well, why do you guys even have a royalty? It's very much a part of being British to have that royalty. And China's, a 3,000, 4,000-year-old country, has norms and standards that have been around forever. And I talked about the Middle East and the Silk Road, and there are cities out there that have Alexander the Great's fort still at the edge of their town, and it's from 300 BC. Like in America, natives know all that, but colonists, now Americans, we don't have that. Our country, the way it's shaped right now, is only like 225, 35 years old, right? So this young generation is just being filled with all this stuff. And so the Democrats pick a young, she's 55, still looks pretty young-ish woman. I think that's a heck of a political move. I have my own beliefs, but I want to look at it in an objective point of view. And I think it's really smart. She's a person of color. She is a woman. And so all these minorities and all these women who've been Democrats forever really, really want to see a woman become president. Whether you agree with it or not, it is something that is moving in our politics, right? I mean, in England, Margaret Thatcher, Prime Minister, Elizabeth has been queen for years and years and years and years. They're used to seeing rulers in those high places, but in America, it's still pretty much male-dominated. What you could probably say to make them not pick U.S. That'd be a lot of fun to witness, I imagine. She is a veritable rainbow of color. will be the end of the USA, Norm Holland says. Yeah, her politics can be pretty scary because Obama was super popular, and you know he's representing. I've talked about this before. You know he's representing a minority. They are a married couple with 2 children, and he has achieved the highest position in the country. That's a good thing culturally for America because that's a ceiling that hadn't been, you know, broken before. Okay, cool. I personally wanted to see the actor who used to do State Farm commercials with a really deep voice. He's just very distinguished. I wanted to see him. I'm like, I don't care what party he runs for, I would vote for that guy. Like Aid has. You guys have Idris Elba. I think he's really cool. If he ran for president here, I could vote for Idris just because I think he's pretty cool. But now you're going to get a twofer. You're going to get a twofer in Kamala Harris because she's a minority and she's a woman. And if Biden is, you know, suffering from dementia, that if they can just prop him up enough for the election to happen, and if he wins, when they have to say, nope, medically we have to retire him, or I don't wish anything bad on anybody, perhaps he just dies of old age, and you now have a young minority woman who's going to become the president. I think that was really smart politically to achieve what they wanted. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I think it was a smart political move, and I think the Republicans should have done something similar. They should have had a woman vice president.
Can I say something?
I guess.
Hey, there's 50 of you watching this. There's only 29 thumbs up. What's up with that?
What?
Give SK a thumb up, please. Evidently, it's good for the algorithm or something. All right, I'll see you out there.
Usually, Tree Bonsai's here, and she's telling people, do a thumbs up, do a thumbs up. What do you guys think about it?
Hush.
It's like that on both sides. I hate it. Hey, Marla here. I already said that, Chasing Life said. Good job, Chasing Life. If Biden doesn't retire or die after the election, someone is going to kick him down the stairs. Spaz, Mama. I'm disagreeing with you, but it's kind of grim. A chip on all 4 shoulders, well balanced. That's politics. During the debate, it's like that person is trash, racist, misogynistic, blah, blah, blah. As soon as they get picked to be the presidential candidate, suddenly everybody wants to tell us how great they are. It's true. And Kamala and Joe had some pretty heated exchanges, and she said some pretty terrible things about him. But, man, you get a chance to be that close to the ultimate power in this country? Oh, yeah, we're buddy-buddy now. Come on. Willing to say anything to you to make sure I get up into that office. Hang him high. That's a Clint film. That's right, and it's an old one, Aid. So what do you guys think about it? One, apparently she does not poll well with Black Americans. Apparently also she was the most liberal young senator, I guess. And so my daughter told me she's a centrist, but maybe she's not. Biden is only keeping the seat warm. Exactly. It's going to be bad no matter who wins, so people are just get ready for the worst. Politically, if Trump stays in office, I can't see politics getting worse. The stock market's been good under him. Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, just managed to broker a deal where the United Arab Emirates and Israel signed a peace accord, which, you know, hasn't been done since the early 70s, maybe the 7-Day War. You know, all the Muslims in the area were all in league against Israel, and he somehow managed to broker that. I think that's kind of interesting politically. So I think if Trump stays in office, I don't see things changing that much. And I think if the pandemic eases up after 2 years, then Trump, being a businessman, is going to hit the economy hard. He's going to try to stimulate the heck out of it to get it up and running. If Biden wins, the 25th Amendment will be invoked. What's the 25th? I just wonder who the real puppet masters are. Hey, KK, I just plugged my son's t-shirt shop. I'm a capitalist. I am white. I'm scared. Learn and watch what is spreading since April. Truth on the wind. MISC is putting people in the hospital and is hidden under the COVID fog. What's MISC? Be very scared of the real candidate in waiting. It might be a surprise. Craig. Right? It would be nice if we had more than two parties here. It really would. It would make the political scene a lot more interesting, and I think people would have to be a little bit more on their game. I agree with that, Craig. It's all about money here. She doesn't pull well with the black man. She spent her career putting everyone she could behind bars. Exactly, Westhold Forge. That is why they didn't like her. She was a prosecutor. And so they see her as someone who stabbed her people in the back. But that may just be a local thing also. Because once you get someone running for a national office, it's a different game. I'm thinking that a lot of minorities will vote for her just because they don't want another old white guy like Biden. And I think some really hard-line Democrats, people who've been Democrat a long time, who think that Trump's an idiot, will vote for Biden and Kamala for the same reason. They're just anti-Trump. They'd rather have her. And again, I said it's a twofer, like it's a knockout punch, a woman and a minority. Like there's some Democrats who've been waiting for this a really long time. We have 4 main parties, right, Abe? But you can have more. Howdy, Sister Kate. Hey, Teresa. And Lone Star Living. MSC is nasty. It is making 21 under end up in the hospital and without treatment would be dead. It is linked to COVID, acting like a bioweapon. Well, I know that the young people, some of them have been getting very ill, but I haven't really researched it. Is black the new gold? Maybe the Dems have something there. It's good for their party. It's good for their party. Showed up in April and spreading over 200 in New York so far. It's linked to COVID, but it's not the same as COVID, you're saying. So it could be another bioweapon coming out of where? China? Aid. Kamala isn't black. Notice I've been saying minority. She is Indian. She is dot Indian, at least part. Okay. You had Pocahontas, now it's Kamala Africa. The gene research done into viruses to bond an off switch into humanate. They've been doing it for 20 years now. Yeah, I read about that. Bioweapon used under the cover of COVID, in my opinion. And yes, it's from China. Whoa. Well, they've already gotten the old people. So if they get the young people, then all that's left are the middle. Chameleon. Shalom, Sister Kate. It's very nasty. Kids have heart attacks, multi-organ shutdown. That is nasty. No, wait a minute. My latecomer still canning tomatoes. Just got kitchen cleaned up. Good job, gardener. Second wave of tomatoes. You're doing great. If it's a bioweapon, it's a poor one. Most people recover pretty fast. A mild annoyance is not effective at bio-war. None of your beeswax says. Never got this old paratrooper. Have you been keeping yourself pretty safe there? Hope if it's a bioweapon, it's a bad one. Why do you say that? Oh, my spaz, mama. The heat is the real killer. This heat is the real killer. I'm telling you, heat is no fun. Let's get like 3 questions from you all. Anything you'd like to ask me that haven't already asked me, because I've only got 15% power. The phone is going to die. Excuse me, sorry. It's all the talking, and I'm going to have to get off. I really would like to stay on a little bit longer and just chat, but I don't have a battery and I don't have a cable long enough to plug my phone in and all that, so I'm just going to have to get off. They tried, I won. Well, good. I hope that it turns out to be nothing. Good. Me too. 98 today. Kitchen's 105. Ugh. All right, you guys. 3 questions. What do you want to ask me? Come on now. You know you've been thinking. At what point do you feel the collapse will happen? That's a good question. I don't necessarily think like a huge collapse, like apocalypse is going to happen. I've said it before. You're looking for 2 things. You're looking for the witnesses, if you're a Bible believer, and I don't think they've shown up yet. The other thing I look at as far as, you know, the whole world is going to collapse is there's no world war. So I'm not convinced that could cause it. Now, as far as the pandemic getting serious and possibly causing all those after effects that we talked about with natural disasters, with crop failure and all that, I think the month we look at is October, because in 1918, that's the month that the virus mutated and then got really, really bad and killed a bunch of people worldwide. So I think a key month to look at for us is October, and then again in the spring, because viruses do like a bunch in the spring, and then a lull in the summer, and then a big swing up in the fall, and then a lull again. So that's the month I think we look at. Did you trade the Ridgebacks for labs? No, I did not, Fajaling. I don't know why you would think that. The lab who's here is not mine. It's one who's I'm babysitting right now. The Ridgebacks are still out there. How are your apple trees? Any apples? We got none here. Okay, that's 3 questions. The apple trees are doing awful. They have fruit on them. They were super healthy, and then the leaves started turning brown and dying. And so the first one that went was the tree that I think was a Granny Smith or a Yellow Delicious, and the apples never got bigger than that big. The other one is my Fuji, and up until like 2 weeks ago, the Fuji was pretty darn healthy, and then the same thing. Leaves start turning brown. All the leaves start dying. I think it's a brown rot. I've been pulling the leaves off because I don't want the tree to try to keep supporting dead leaves, and I'm hoping what'll happen is it'll go dormant without these leaves and maybe come back in the spring. I don't think people realize that the fall is going to bring a big... When planning for other people... Okay, so these other questions I will answer, but when the thing says I get 10%, I'm gonna shut the thing down. Had blooms, no fruit, and no bees this spring here. I had a bunch of bees, gardener. Maybe you're in an area where people are using pesticides. When planning for other people to arrive at the bug out location, how do you deal with them wanting to bring others too? You can't care for everyone. Good question, none of your beeswax. This is something you have to decide beforehand. You have to make very plain to the people showing up that you will only accept people under certain conditions, and you set those conditions. And one of the conditions can be it's just you. You're being invited to this bug out location. It's something that not everybody gets to do, and you may not bring anyone else with you. That can be one of your conditions. Another thing could be you can show up, but only if you have the following things on you. And then you decide. We want you to have 7 years of seeds. We want you to bring livestock. We want you to have, 2 bins full of medical supplies. Whatever it is that you all decide for your location, you let people know up front. Don't show up here if you don't have this stuff. We won't let you in. And then you have to have a way to kind of carry that out. Like if your place has no fence and no gate and is easily accessible from a main road, you really can't stop people from coming. Unless you're going to, have like your own small army out there. So you've got to be realistic. You've got to be realistic about your bug out location, how it's organized. Hopefully you haven't already given everyone directions to where it is. That's another way to control who's coming and who's not coming, is by telling people who get to come, we will send you the directions to it when the time is on us. Not before then, unless you're like doing training or stocking up or something out there. But you don't let everybody know where it is. It's a bug out location. It's not, it's not a free-for-all. So that's a couple of my suggestions. Okay. I might order bees next spring. You can certainly try it. I didn't think we had any bees around here, but then when the blackberry bushes, which are everywhere, opened up their flowers, we had a ton of bees, and I did a little video on that. Okay, Aid, what poor spelling? Euphrates River might open. I'm going to go ahead and get my Mad Max Road Warrior outfit ready just in case. I'm surprised you don't already have one, Wes Holt. Please post vids, Wes. Water those trees if possible. Help reduce stress in the heat. Try to keep them alive. John, I will do that. And I'm almost thinking they may have gotten too much water because we had so much rain here. But I give them water with duck manure in it. But I will continue to do that. I've heard it's really good for them. I've been putting 2 gallons of pond water per tree 1 time a week. Okay, so I've probably done at least that. But I can do more. The UK is very small. Nowhere to bug out to. Aid, I'm telling you right now, you should have a boat. The channel is only 20 miles across. And yes, who wants to go to France? But it allows you to get to the continent, and then you can go wherever you need to from there. You can go north. You can go up to the Scandinavian countries, but you would need a boat or access to some kind of floating craft, canoe, kayak, whatever, or a helicopter or a plane, because you're absolutely right. You're an island, and it's small. Another option for y'all would be to go to Wales. Wales, I don't think, is nearly as populous, and you're still connected. I don't know if you'd speak the language, but my impression of Wales is it's not nearly as many people. And if the UK, just the country itself, became a problem, I'd think about going there or north up into Scotland. But yeah, you need to have some kind of boat, brother. That's my opinion, or a plane. Trump and the right will be blamed for the spread of the so-called second wave when shows grows teeth and the streets full of the sick. You're painting a pretty grim picture there, Truth on the Wind. I hope that doesn't happen. But when you're the president, it's on your watch. You got to do the best you can. Family only in certain others, and then the door closes. Mad Max occurred in 2021, just saying. Ooh, hadn't thought about that. Just bring your MREs over here, Wes says. Fly out now, Aid. Sell everything, get you a ticket, and come now. The northwest of England. So you're pretty close to the border, right? I mean, you could go to Wales pretty pretty easily. Don't put water with any nut tree debris in it. I've heard black walnut will kill an apple tree. Yeah, there's no walnuts near them, so that's okay. Watch for anyone sick with a rash, fever, red eyes, swollen hands and feet, vomiting, and abdominal pain. If they are hard to wake up, call 911. Okay. Thanks for sharing. Sis Kate phone is dying here. Blessings to all. Thank you for showing up, Rick. Good to hear from you. All right. Shalom, Rick. Shalom, everyone. Norm Holland, agree. Okay, y'all. I'm going to get off now. I've been on here an hour and a half, and it's been great. Live in Europe might be a good time to move where there's less people. I tell you what, China and Russia have a lot of land. But anyway, good to see everyone. Thank you guys for showing up. I truly appreciate it. I hope to get a video out soon. Just keep prepping, you guys. Keep doing the things you're doing, and get ready to hunker down if it's necessary. Bless you all. Shalom.